Well, this is my first ever video response. You gonna sit there in front of the camera the whole time? Hmm? Hey, hey, what are you doing? Josie? Huh? Is that where you go? All right, so friends in retirement. What's going to happen to my friends? I'm thinking about this question a little bit. I saw a video a week or so ago, I guess, on Buzz's Retirement Garage, his channel. Um, I love his channel. Seems like a really cool guy. Also from the same state, opposite ends of the state. I think he lives up in northern Ohio, maybe around Cleveland or so. And I live on the complete opposite southern end of Ohio. But anyway, um, watching one of his videos, he was talking about, what's going to happen to your friends in retirement. And he did a really good job. And I agree with everything he said. He kind of separated, um, I guess, friends in a couple categories, like, friends or, acquaintances. And, along the way, we develop these acquaintances, I suppose, that we consider friends at the time. But then when you move on to something else, whether it's, in school or a job, you're going from one job to the next, or, in his case, from working until retirement, those friends kind of go away. And so that's how he was able to separate, the difference between just people you get to know while you're around them versus real friends, and then the possibility that when you retire, that some of those relationships will kind of fade away. And I don't disagree with anything he said. I thought it was a pretty interesting perspective. Mm. But it did cause me to think about it a lot. And while thinking about it, um, it made me think of the little town that I grew up in. It's called McDermott, Ohio. Really small population, in the hundreds, not thousands. And we did have, you know, um, a K through 8 school in the town while I was growing up, and everything seemed to center around the school. And it truly was one of those towns where everybody knows everybody. Whether you want to or not, you're going to know everybody's business. Um, Growing up in this town, a lot of family members live there as well. Not just immediate family members, but you know first cousins, second cousins, relatives of various sorts. And you get really, really close to these people when you're growing up. Um, but then, of course, people grow up, people get older, people move away. In the case of this little town, the school closed down, and this kind of, I'll say, destroyed the community. And when I was thinking about it that way, it really made me think of, um, the concept of acquaintances and friends as really nothing more than a community. It's like in that case, when the school left and people started moving away, that community dissolved. I know the town's still there, but the community, at large is pretty much gone. And those are people you grew up with, people really, really well and know, maybe in some cases, too much about them, but it dissolved, it went away. So that community changed. And if you fast forward to different parts of your life, in this case, like, we went to a different high school that was, about 5 or 6 miles away, I guess. My family, we moved out of this little town to a slightly more rural area. And all those friends that you grew up with, well, you still know them. You just don't make it a point to see them. Very rarely do you see them randomly. So I guess you could still call them friends or acquaintances. But the way I see it is just that community has changed, and that's okay. Um, and the community shifts. In this case, it was going to a different high school, and you get really close with people there. You're with them for 4 years. Maybe you're on in clubs or on sports teams, and these are your best friends, people you spend all your extra time with. But then what happens when you graduate high school? Well, that community changes, and then you go to college, or you start working, and you develop a new community. Um, so it seems to be kind of what happens throughout the course of our life. we develop these, kind of like micro communities along the way. And then when it's time to transition or time to move on, that community fades away and a new community develops. I think like my own life, like the first real job I had was working in a grocery store. Did that for 4 years and really work with some really what I would call you know down to earth, honest, trustworthy people that had a lot in common with. So it was had some great work relationships there. A really cool community. We'd do things together. But after 4 years working there, I went to a different job, and along comes a new community. So every step of the way, it's like this community of friendships and acquaintances develops. But then when you move on, it kind of fades away. And so it is now. Like toward the end of my career, my last year of teaching, kind of thanks to Buzz's video. I don't know what's good or bad, but I started looking at the friendships and relationships I have with the people I work with a little bit differently. And when I say differently, it's the realization that it is going to be temporary. You'll still know the people. You'll, maybe from time to time get in contact with people, possibly do things together, but you have to make it happen. And you guys know how it works. Typically, life takes over. Um, Everybody gets a little busy or wrapped up in their own lives, and that's perfectly fine too. But then it becomes more and more difficult to make time for people. So when I see the people I work with now, and I really, really think a lot of these people, um, I do realize that for the most part it's temporary, and I'm going to move on from these people just like they're going to move on from me, and maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. Thinking about big picture, why does this occur? The only thing I could come up with is that from all the various relationships you have, whether they're just mild acquaintances or you develop a deep, meaningful friendship with somebody. Best case scenario is that you get something from these people, not physically, but like something that helps you grow. Whether you see them as an example of something they're doing that you maybe want to mimic in your life, and you can kind of take that from them. I know from some of the relationships I've had, I mentioned in a previous video, like when I was in the Navy, I was speaking of another community. Man, that was a super tight community. And of all the people that I served with, boot camp, my schooling, A schools in Connecticut, or my permanent duty station in Washington, man, there was some amazing people, guys that I really, really got along well with. But of all those people, only one of them do I keep in contact with on a somewhat regular basis, and even then, it's only maybe once or twice a year. And that's cool to know that you still have that person you can call up and you know continue the friendship with. Um, but where I was going with this, like when I was in the Navy, one of my chiefs, well, we were pretty close. Like we'd go over to his house and play cards or have a beer or something, and just a really cool guy, really, really intelligent guy. But he's the one, and I haven't spoken to him since 2001. But from him, like, I learned a little bit about investing and, preparing for the future and not spending everything I make. So, like, that's an example of like, you're able to get something from some people, and if you're lucky, you take away something really good and you get to keep it and use it throughout your life. Um, So yeah, it's kind of the way I was looking at relationships and friendships, moving forward. I think for a lot of people, making YouTube videos is a way to develop a new community and kind of come up with, friendly relationships. And a lot of these people you'll never meet, but nevertheless, you can still get something from them. Also, they can get something from you. So it's always a reciprocal relationship, a two-way street, if you will. And so as I'm preparing to retire, like I was saying earlier, like I know the people I work with and I really, really enjoy their company. But when I walk away, they're still going to be, knee deep in the fray of teaching, and they all have their own families. And You know, kids doing various things, and like, you know, I don't have an expectation that they're going to drop everything just to hang out with me, and I don't think there's a need to. Like, you know, if we have something to say to each other, we can text or call, or maybe meet by chance, or you know, if it was something, you know, you want to do, you'll carve out some time for these people. Um, Looking back at my career as a teacher now, you know, 20 plus years, the people that I've worked with that have already retired, and the people I work with now, um, I have a, made a lot of good friends. But of all those friendships, um, honestly, there's only one person that um, make it a point to spend time with, you know, on a regular basis. Um, and again, like, that's not a complaint. It's just a realization that, you know, these acquaintances and friends that you make along the way are just part of a community that's temporary. And then when you move on to a different phase of your life, a different stage, that community is going to change. So, you know, moving off in retirement, it's going to be different for sure. My community is going to change. Um, and I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Say, like, I would say I'll miss these people. Um, but I've experienced it before. Like, you know, the sailors that I was with, the people that I work with, you know, driving trucks, people that I work with at the grocery store. You know, you maybe miss these people for a short period of time, but then we move on with our lives, and that's just kind of the way relationships go, in my opinion, of course. So, anyway, I don't know Buzz from Buzz's Retirement Garage, but you know, if he's out there, if he gets this message, you know, thanks for the video you posted about, you know, friendships going into retirement, because it really made me pause and think about, you know, what relationships mean to me, and what it, you know, could possibly look like in the future. I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but I do know it's going to be different than what it is right now. So that can be sad in one way, but from my perspective, it's kind of exciting, because um, seems like if you are moving forward with a positive attitude, like, the good stuff is always yet to come. So I'm really looking forward to the next phase of my life and developing new friends, new communities. And then if I'm able to do that, we'll enjoy every moment of it and then take it from there. So if you watch this far, thanks for watching. Again, my name's Casey, my channel Retire with Casey. If you don't mind, hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I appreciate your time. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. If you guys were able to see, but I had a very sleepy dog with me the whole time. We just took our Sunday morning walk, and she's a little bit tired. So see you guys later. Bye-bye.